live, and coming in strong with the first comment, 6-string Brian, Stream Deck. Interesting. Okay, we're going to talk about this. I almost wish it were a Zoom call. So here we are. I'm just checking my signal here. Good morning, David. How are you? I think I know something about Stream Deck, but I'm going to look it up while we're talking here. I'm going to go to live. I'm not really doing a test anymore. And one of the things that you might notice, by the way, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. You might notice right now that there is no Ecamm Live logo anymore. And that is because after this past week of testing and everything else, I have decided that this is, for the time being, going to be the streaming platform that I'm going to be using. So I have paid for 1 year of Ecamm Live. In addition to that, if you ever come by at 3 p.m. Pacific time on this fine day, on Hump Day, to the C47's channel to check out the the infamous Cameron Flask show with myself, Ben Barden, and Caleb Pike, then I will be telling you right now that today we will be using Ecamm Live, and I will be hosting everything. So that is the deal in terms of everything. So what I wanted to do today was have a chat with you, find people on the interwebs out there. And I also, wow, Shiz, I like the way you're putting your name up there. No nuts, but, it's good. And we're going to talk a little bit about the live streaming fiasco I've gone through. And what's up, Benjamin? Nice to have you here in the chat and also the live stream. Clay says, looking forward to the Flask later. Stream quality is looking great right now. Yeah, let's actually do a test here. Let me go ahead and share my screen and see which one it's sharing. I don't need system audio. And show current application. Oh, I see. And what else did it say? Primary display. So I'll go to primary display. I think I'm getting this. Dang. And we'll just fire up the good old Safari. I'm going to load something up. Keep chatting along. All good. Everybody should be seeing speed test coming in here now. And, whoa, it's Donkey Donuts is here. What's up, Aldo? Good to have you on the live stream. So let's see what we're getting here. Obviously, we're doing the live stream as well. And I believe that I'm on normal latency right now. We're going to try to do low latency later on today. But fans are kicking in, so you'll definitely hear the mic picking that up a little bit. And with the live stream going, come on, baby, let's go. With everything that's going on, we are still at a respectable 12.58 up. So I'll take that, especially because speed test, as far as Caleb tells me, really does a number on taking over your bandwidth. There we go. Especially for Caleb, you can only change names like every once or twice in 6 months. Is it once or is it twice, Shiz? But he did. He gave you a hard time about that. So you're using Ecamm, which is working well. How does it compare to OBS? So I don't know how it compares to OBS. I mean, honestly, from what I understand, OBS is more customizable. So it takes more to get OBS set up. It takes more to do things with OBS. But once you're doing them, it's about as flexible as you can get. That said, and I'll probably do a whole episode really live stream about Ecamm Live at some point. Ecamm Live is, it's really, for the most part, simple to use. There's a few little things, and you know, I have to say that huge credit to them. Yesterday I spent 30 or 40 minutes with one of the two developers from Ecamm Live. His name is Glenn, and we had a real, like a serious discussion about the things that I'm running into that are frustrating about this particular solution. And just to sort of backtrack a little bit, when it first started doing live streams, and I'm no expert in any way, shape, or form, though the last 7 to 8 weeks have definitely increased my knowledge. We're kind of bouncing back and forth between two solutions. The first one was Mimo Live from Boink Software, which I absolutely love. It's a production studio in a box. The problem with it is if you don't have good bandwidth or decent bandwidth, then that's where it's going to fall apart. And that's because just like OBS and this Ecamm Live, it's really reliant upon you. Your connection is the key to the castle. I also, which I think is ridiculous that they got rid of it, loved Google Hangouts. And when we really kind of fired up Camera and Flask, that live stream again, Google Hangouts was still a thing, and we were using it every week. Very uncustomizable, pretty reliable, and you know, its downside was there was no flexibility in adding graphics, quickly going to different things, and all of that stuff. Yeah, iStat menu. I don't know if I have that in the one that I have. Oh yeah, that's bandwidth statistics. So I can basically pay $100 a year more, and I'll get some additional stuff. So can somebody give me an understanding of what NDI output means? Maybe this is one for you, Clay, because it says I don't get NDI output at 1080p unless I'm on the Pro plan, and that's the thing that I need to understand about this. I don't know if I care about a widget overlay. That's one of the Pro features in Ecamm. Actually, I just share my screen so everybody can see this. Let's just go over here. And can everybody see? What's strange now, oh, well, you see my desktop as the feed. And then you should, do you see a picture-in-picture of me? Let me know if that's happening in the bottom left corner, because my latency on my feed. Good morning, Mike. Good to see you again. Nice chatting with you yesterday. Okay, so here we are, and you're looking at my desktop here, but basically this is Ecamm Live, and it's basically pulling my desktop into the stream. So you should see a picture-in-picture of me down in the bottom left. I can move that wherever I want it to be. And when I go up here to my menu items, you'll see that with some of them, there are these little Pro options. So it'll say Pro, new widget overlay. Output, we can see, I don't need to go out to the decimator. That's a video monitor, so I could monitor what's happening externally. Same thing with audio monitor, which is maybe important for me. And then this one is the one that I don't really know about, which is NDI output, which I'll have to look into. If that means that the feeds that are coming in from Caleb and Ben for Camera and Flask can't be in 1080, then that'll be a problem, and I'll probably have to upgrade. And then this is the other one that Clay was talking about, which is called bandwidth statistics. So that's a question mark. Anybody that can give me any feedback on that would be great. And then the other thing is, let me just do one thing. So It's called, I just wanted to make sure I had the acronym correct. NDI is Network Device Interface. So it's basically this way for things to communicate with each other, developed by Newtek originally. And then basically, like for instance, in Ecamm Live as it is right now, the way it works is when I want to bring somebody into a conversation, that has to be done through Skype. And so what happens is you fire up Skype on your end, you do a Skype call, they have to go into their preferences inside of Skype, and they have to make sure that NDI is activated. Obviously, NDI is activated in Ecamm Live, and then there's a handshake, and they can communicate with each other. And then you can bring in those people as assets, as actual components that become part of your scene. Now, based on the conversation I had with Ecamm Live yesterday, they are actively working on some things for themselves that will not just rely upon that in terms of bringing other people in, which I'm super excited about, because one of the things that I really, really like about Lightstream, which is really a cloud-based live streaming solution, is that in that solution, you're basically, you are inviting people with some sort of link, and then they come in through their web browser, but they don't have to have another app open. You don't have to have another app open. And to me, that's just a huge deal overall. So let me just get into some of these comments, and I'll keep talking through this. So making sure I don't miss anything. Yeah, it's good to know that you're safe too, Aldo. Aldo is a sound recordist. He's based out of the New York area. Good friend. We've done a lot of projects together, some traveling, and he also, I don't know what he's doing right now, but he's done a lot of stuff with Nat Geo. So there you go. We see the picture-in-picture. Yes, good. Yes, picture-in-picture. As a reference, this is from Benjamin. I saw a webinar from Capture One yesterday, and it was the slickest I've seen. Whatever they are using, it is working really well for them. Yeah, Benjamin, I'm interested on that Capture One webinar, because they just released 12 not that long ago. So I guess they're already teasing the next version. Maybe let me know. That'd be interesting to know. We can't see the menus. Oh, really? That's interesting. Okay. Oh, and you're still seeing a picture-in-picture of me. So when I go to the menus, let me just see this. I'm going to try to do this live. So I'm just picking. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I know why. Okay. Thank you for that, Michael. I'm sorry I didn't see your comment until before then. So, no, I don't know why. Because I said primary display, which should include the menus. So now I have to take a screenshot of that, and I have to, yeah, that's interesting. All right, so let me take a screenshot of this, and that way I can talk to, wait, now you see, do you see the menus now? Hold on. Is it because I'm over here? I want to see if I just reset the ghosts in the machine, and then I'll stop sharing. So I'm actually, latency wise, I'm just waiting. No, so the menus disappear. Look at that. All right, so that is some funky stuff. I need pictures. Okay, got it. So I have no idea why that's happening. I have no idea why you're not seeing menus at times. And I'm going to have to ask that question. Oh, that's what I meant. Version 20, not 12. Yeah, Benjamin, I wasn't really compelled to upgrade to the new version. Maybe was I on 12 and they like jumped to 20 because they were so scared of 13 that they just went up to the next one. The other thing that I'm seeing that's kind of weird is certain things are showing up on my desktop and certain things are not. And it'll be interesting for me to show that. Wow. So I didn't realize that we were going to do some of this in this live stream, which is sort of debugging some things. But it's really important for me to figure that stuff out, because if I have an expectation that something is going to work a certain way and then it doesn't work that way, then I need to know that. So there we go. Got it. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about where I am with everything. And I'm happy to have these sort of other conversations as well. You know, quite honestly, when I do the live streams, the whole point is to just talk about something. I've got to put a title up there. I've got to put a description. But the reality is that even though that's sort of the basis of it, it doesn't mean that's where the conversation is going to go. And that's true of Camera and Flask as well, especially today, because we're going to be kind of wrapping up this not quite the NAB show. And there aren't a lot of things to talk about related to any other additional announcements. The Sony press conference didn't really bear any fruits that we would probably be that interested in. A lot of broadcast-based stuff if you're in that space, which is interesting. But we're going to kind of wrap things up related to all of that, and then we're also going to, do that stuff. Maybe for Ecamm menus, they don't want them to overlay on your end user screen. Maybe, but I'm not quite sure how that would affect things, because what I really want to do is just show you what's on my screen within that 16:9 view, and maybe that's also part of it. Maybe it's just not doing that. Yeah, Sony conference was for us. I'm not saying there's probably some people who are really excited about it. So, yeah, I've got some questions regarding this. But what I was saying is that for Camera and Flask today, it's really just going to be an open conversation. So we're going to talk about kit. We're going to talk about what people are getting rid of, what things they are thinking about purchasing in each one of those product categories. And I'm just keeping an eye on everything over here. And I'm really kind of interested in going and scrubbing through this after it's done to see some of the things that are and aren't happening and what is and isn't being shared on screen, and see if there's any other gremlins I can have them look into. I got a couple of error messages trying to push live with Ecamm Live over the last week. Nothing that was a problem. It happened. I re-pushed live and it went right to YouTube. And so I sent that stuff because they were error messages that Ecamm had never seen before. So there's a, send diagnostic data over, and I did that. So there's the deal with that. Some other little kooky things about this, and again, hopefully you'll be able to see everything, and then just throw some questions up into the chat, is I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the primary display. And again, it's a good chance for me to check some things out, because you'll see that my menus are in there. They're being pushed. But then if I choose a menu item, are you actually seeing that as a drop down in the stuff that's happening? I wonder if it has anything to do with this window being in the way. I doubt it. Nope, it doesn't seem to do that. So that's pretty interesting. There is one other thing, though, which might be the problem. Though, let me just see. If I go here and I go to a window. Okay, so if I'm outside of the app and I'm bringing menus up, you should be able to see those. It's when I'm inside of Ecamm Live that's the problem. So I'm going to step out of the share. There is an option here, I believe. It's called Live Demo Mode, which is a separate mode inside of Ecamm Live. So I'm still learning this thing. And I'm not going to include system audio. I just want to keep my feed. And now we're going to see what's happening once you start to see Ecamm live. And I'll show you this. It's under, well, live demo mode. Turn on live demo mode and cancel sharing system audio. And what I can see now is a big box around my entire screen. And my guess is that this is how I'm going to be able to show you now those things that were in there. So there's the Pro new widget display. We have over under output all of these other Pro features, video monitor, audio monitor. We have NDI output. This is the big one that I'm not sure what it is, and I need to look into that. Of the options, that's the one that I'm most interested in terms of what it does. Virtual camera, do some more on that. And then over here under window, this is what we were discussing earlier on, which is the bandwidth statistics, where you're getting a real-time feed, which can be useful. You know, we'll see how that all works. So let's see. Good, perfect. So now we have some other solutions. Now I can't click right back onto my camera. It looks like I have to go to options and then uncheck live demo mode, I think. Yep, and then it should bump back to just me. Good. Hey, look. We worked some stuff out here. Yeah, Clay, you were the one mentioning that you like the stats in here. Clay, are you using the Pro version or are you using the one that's right below that? Okay, cool. I know it's going to take a minute to get the answer to that question. So what else? I'm going to try a couple of other things here to see how well they work. Those are my screenshots. I'm just going to drag something over here. Interesting. So it looks like I can just literally grab a graphic and I can drop it right onto the window. And then there's some snapping stuff in here for guides, which is pretty interesting. We'll see if that shows up. And then I can go in here to my picture options and I can, I don't know, oh, that's my overall brightness. I see. So is it, now if I pick something in here, can I change that setting? I don't think so, but I'll find out. Nope. Okay. I'm just messing with stuff. Good. Okay. There's that. Okay. So there's the, so that's actually how I'm getting my bandwidth right now. So I live up on a hill and I have had this little box for a while. It's a Netgear Nighthawk M1. It's the MR1100. Oh, Clay, you've got something called iStep menus. Okay, I got it. So that bandwidth thing inside of Ecamm Live supposedly is supposed to give you similar statistics, but while you're actually doing your live stream from within the app that you're doing your live stream. So I'll have to take a look at iStat menus as well. Can I drop on an alpha, a graphic with an alpha channel, say a ping? I don't know. I'll have to do that. So stop it, David. So this Netgear M1 is a little Wi-Fi hotspot, and some of you may be familiar with it, but a lot of people like this thing because it's pretty flexible in terms of what you can do. You can run it without a battery in it over USB-C right to mains. You can connect it directly through USB to your computer. It's got some nice features. You can add additional antennas, but quite honestly, I've found that they do absolutely nothing, at least where I am. In fact, they have degraded upload speed for some reason in certain situations for me. And I've done a lot of tests with two particular antennas. And so I'm just running this box now in what I found to be pretty much the ideal location for the box. It's up against a window. I'm using these little suckers right here, which just stick to things on walls and stuff. They can hold about, I'd say about 5 pounds of weight, and they're reusable. You can wash them. They're amazing. And so that's what's on there, you know, holding the Wi-Fi hotspot. and then I'm just plugged into mains, and then I have, it's overkill, but I have a Cat7 cable, and interesting, Netgear Orbi system, and so that the Cat7 cable is coming right into here, and then what I have, and I've now bought a second one of them, is I have this little USB-C to Ethernet adapter, and so that's what's doing a hardwired connection into there. I was using this other one. I had two of them from projects, and it seems to have failed. So the one that you remove the photo by just pressing on here, I'll show you how you remove the photo. Just give me 1 second. Here, we'll go live demo mode again. I could have just shared the screen. And you just go over here, you hover over the photo, and there's a little drag handle, by the way, when you bring assets in. I just did a drag and drop, but you can also add them over here in the overlays. And then there's just this little X, and you just click on that, and it'll make it disappear. I don't know if that question was because you were sick of looking at the photo, Brian, or if you just wanted to know how you could get rid of it. It could have been a little bit of both, but there you go. So that's gone. So let me get back to this conversation. So what's happening is the Netgear is obviously going in hardwired into my laptop. And then I've turned off Wi-Fi, and I've gone into the manager for that Netgear. For me, it's AT&T, so you go to a Wi-Fi manager, and it brings up all of the choices for that particular box and that connection and what you're doing. So effectively what's happening is I've got an LTE connection coming in, and the way AT&T normally works is they take a look at, available bandwidth and bands, and they say, we're giving you this one right now. And they do that on the fly. So if you're going to speed test or something like that, and you're checking your download and your upload speeds, they are all over the place because they are basically picking the band for you. And so it's a dedicated device, but then, what if you get a bad band? Also, the way I had been using that box for a very long time was over Wi-Fi. So what I was doing is taking that signal, letting AT&T decide what band or bands were being used, and switching them as you're using the box. We're not switching them, they were. And then I was pulling that signal in over Wi-Fi. So if I was 20, 30 feet away from the box, it would be, oh, are the doors closed? How good's the signal? What's going on? So I had heard there were ways to hack this box, but I really wasn't willing to go down that road because it's not me. I just don't do that. I love technology. I hate IT, command lines, all of that fun stuff. But in the end, what I wound up doing was out of frustration, and also partially because I'm now part of this thing called Office Hours, which is run by Alex Lindsay. If you're interested, just send me an email or something from the website, from the c47.com, and I'll get you the invite. It happens early. It kind of fires up at about 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. The show goes from 7 to 8 every day as a general discussion. You can be part of the panel if you want. If you get there early enough and you have good audio and good video, then you can raise your hand and they'll let you in as a panel. Yes, or you can just be an attendee and just kind of be part of the Q&A in the chat. But it's really all about this. It's not about my particular problem. It's about where we go forward with using technology to effectively do our job, but also for events and for meetings and for concerts and for all of these things. So it's pretty amazing. So that's really kind of made me up my game. And the other thing that's made me up my game is all of this going on. I'm in a location for 7 weeks straight, virtually no work, and that makes it really hard, but it also gives opportunity to spend a lot of time putting things into place for the future. So it's been actually great from that standpoint. And the frustration I've had is sort of twofold. Number one, bandwidth. So we started to have Cameron Flask hosted by Caleb, who has much better bandwidth. But number two was Lightstream, which is this cloud-based, streaming platform. Some of you may be familiar with some of our woes. And the woes are not because of my bandwidth. Even when Caleb is hosting, we've had some issues in terms of audio and video. And by some, I mean quite a lot. So we got to the point where even though I had upgraded and I went in for a year with Lightstream, they were kind enough, I have to check, but they were kind enough to say they would issue a refund. So that was really nice. Great company. Loved the UI, loved the functionality. Some of the things that they have going on in their app, I wish were in Ecamm. One of the big ones is when you bring assets in, it's just being able to precisely resize and place them where you want to. And somebody had asked something about OBS earlier. That is definitely something you can do, but obviously it takes more work to get to that point. But they're actively working on it at Ecamm. They're actively working on and know about that frustration, which was very reassuring. So for me right now, while I'll probably also start to do tests with Mimo Live because it's even more full-featured, it's so comprehensive in terms of its capabilities. It doesn't rely upon Skype or some other tie-in to bring in other callers or guests. I think it's going to kind of be, I have both of those now, and it's going to be this little journey of when to use Ecamm Live and when to use Mimo Live. And so then that's from Boink Software. So it'll be kind of this combination of me experimenting with both of them. I do feel that for my kind of single, just me live streams, that Ecamm Live is probably going to be the solution. Along with an A10 Mini, I think that that's going to be a good combo. But to sort of circle back to then what happened last week was I sort of, on this show last week, I had it. In fact, I don't think last week's show exists because it was so frustrating. So it was this combination of bandwidth and also just the issues that I've had on and off with Lightstream that got me to the point where, as I was doing the show, if you were here, I was literally typing and furiously, both quickly and also mentally. I was basically doing that, and it was with tech support, and I was just so frustrated. And so what I did after that was came back to, because somebody had mentioned it, I had also done an interview recently, Ecamm Live. And so I kind of had already been looking at it, and I said, you know what, it's time to bring this down. And thankfully, Ben and Caleb were up for kind of real-time testing, and Caleb downloaded it as well, and he set up his system, and we went up with Cameron Flask kind of hours after my frustration and just sort of deciding that I wasn't going to continue with Lightstream, and we did our first show with it. So that's kind of what happened. And then basically after I need to know more about Stream Deck. Put a link in there for me, Brian. After that stream, after we did Cameron Flask, what wound up happening was I went down this this rabbit hole that lasted I'd say, up until yesterday. And it's really, so here's basically the deal. What I wound up doing was I stupidly had returned an Ethernet cable that I had ordered, and I don't know why, because I was already thinking about doing a hardwired Ethernet connection. But I actually started to really look into, again, because I had been on office hours, Guy Cochran from DVE Store said, hey, there's a link here that you can look at to hack your M1 so that you can force bans. And that's really the key to the castle. It's hardwired and turning Wi-Fi off so you're not broadcasting it. You're not bringing in an LTE signal and then saying, oh, that's what I want to push out to everybody through Wi-Fi. It's dedicated hardline through Ethernet. And then from that point, it's really about getting into that box somehow and forcing bands, the best band or bands for where you are, so that it doesn't hop. And so that was so outside of my comfort zone that somebody who has any knowledge about doing that kind of stuff probably would have figured everything out within an hour. It took me 3 days. And after that point in time and a lot of trial and error and, things breaking and then having to be fixed again, and I don't mean breaking, I mean breaking, I finally figured out after 3-4 articles and a video and everything else how to do it. And on the Mac, basically what you have to do is you have to make sure that you have Telnet running. Later versions of the operating system don't have it by default. So you go into Terminal. The way I went about it is I downloaded Homebrew, which then allowed me to download Telnet. And through Telnet, you basically use commands to first find out what bands are available, and they come up on the list. And then from there, you are able to then use command lines. I guess they're command lines. I'm probably saying it incorrectly. Use command lines to basically force those bands to be added to a drop-down menu when you go into that Wi-Fi manager for your particular box. And these were instructions specifically for the Netgear M1 MR1100. Thing that's interesting is it says you have to do it over USB-C or USB to your computer and have everything else turned off, no Ethernet, no Wi-Fi. But in the end, and that was kind of frustrating, I found out that when I brought up Telnet and I sent the commands later in the day, once I had gotten Ethernet back up, because that's part of the breaking thing that happened, I actually entered it and it actually allowed me to do it over Ethernet. So that one thing in the article or articles was incorrect. It would allow me to do that. And I don't know if that had something to do with the type of cable I was using or what the deal was, but it did allow me to do it through and over Ethernet, which was great because I wasn't bringing the box over to my computer and I could do it that way. Once I knew everything was running, then I started to do tests in terms of the different bands. And then I found that for where I am in particular, band 14 is giving me the most consistent up and download speed. So I'm getting somewhere between 30 and 40 generally up, and I'm getting somewhere between usually 12 to 20 down. But I would say the average is about 15 to 18. So it depends on the time of day and what's going on, but it's a good thing. I don't know. I don't know if Panasonic announced something pretty interesting. Yes, to the network hack article, I do. So Brian, the best thing to do, just because then I can bring up, 3 or 4 links to send you, is go to the c47.com to the contact area. Just send me a little form that says that you want that stuff, and I will send you a quick reply over email. And I'll send you the links that I've found. And you've kind of got to dig around and cobble together. But the thing is that box was so effective and is being so effective for what I'm doing right now that I'm really considering that if I'm on the road and I need to live stream, that I'll just bring that box with me with a shorter Ethernet cable. I'll probably just have to choose the bands that I have in there already, unless I'm up for getting myself into a mess again. But I've actually decided, and I'm kind of that type of person, when I find something that works, like this, USB-C to Ethernet adapter, then if this is the one that's doing the job correctly, then I don't want to not have a solution if there's failure. So what I've done is that one's the second one that I just got, and I ordered the second one because I want redundancy. And the same is true for the Wi-Fi hotspot. My decision was justified I can have a second one because we do have another Wi-Fi hotspot in the house. but it's a different Netgear. I don't even think it's Netgear, but it's not as capable in any way, shape, or form. And to my knowledge, I can't do the things in that box that I can do with the M1 MR1100. So I ordered another one. I ordered a refurbed one through eBay and high seller rating, and I think that's arriving today or tomorrow. And then what I'll do is I'll probably put the other SIM card in that and get rid of the old one and start to work on that box and use it for the rest of the signal. But I will set that box up for Wi-Fi. So the idea would be to, in theory, force a band, but then have a much more reliable Wi-Fi signal for the rest of the house. And then if needed, there are ways, somebody in here has actually mentioned it, where you can aggregate your connection from your two boxes and then get better bandwidth. Because they're both on the same plan in terms of I have a AT&T plan, but they're separate boxes with their own data. I pay for those as different lines. So in theory, I should be able to get really good throughput there. But quite honestly, for live streaming stuff, if you are sort of in that 10 to 15 up range, you're usually pretty good. That seems to be the case. And so I am pretty happy there. Or next week, what does that mean? David, what's a next week? You have to explain. There's only so much that this little feeble mind can keep track of. So I know that that's a follow-up, or you are saying something to something that I've said. Anybody? And then anybody hear anything about Panasonic and whether or not they have anything interesting? I'll be looking out for that. Probably hit News Shooter and Cinema 5D first to see if there's any news on those platforms. David, I need to know what that last comment means, or a next week LOL. I'm wondering, so let me know unless you already have answered it. Yeah, so anything? Let's go. What we got? Shipping is all over the place. Oh, yeah, the shipping. Yeah, it is kind of crazy when it comes to receiving product. The estimated receipt times from Amazon are so unreliable, but I found that for most of the stuff that it actually arrives early. They're doing the under promise over deliver, though. Yesterday I ordered some stuff and it gave me a range of May 8th to the 14th, and it very quickly locked it into it's arriving on the 14th, and that's actually too late, so I'll have to cancel that. My fingers crossed were that it was going to ship out right away. Panasonic 8K full frame CMOS sensor. Interesting. Okay, and is that data up on News Shooter or anywhere like that at the moment? Anybody have information on that? Let's see. Not yet. I don't see anything. And that's News Shooter. Though there's a honking big light up on there. And I don't see anything else. We did have a 13-inch MacBook Pro release this week. Kind of interesting to see that there were no graphic card upgrade choices for the high-end model. It upgrades the graphics card at a certain point, but the GPU, but then it's not a GPU, but it doesn't let you choose other ones. I think many camera manufacturers are likely sitting on their cameras under development and continue to develop them until people will actually buy them. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that'll be part of the conversation later on. And your C200, David, came in a week late. Well, through the post office, I'm not surprised. Though the post office is who delivers almost all of my Amazon packages nowadays, unless they're bigger boxes. So that whole thing is just wonky donkey here in the United States of America. So what else we got for questions? I'll probably go for another few minutes here, and then I'm going to do a reset, get some breakfast, and then I have sort of nonstop Zoom calls, and then I really have to hunker down and learn more about Ecamm Live before the live stream this afternoon. I want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row, all the eggs in the basket, and that we have everything set up properly. I say that now, knock on wood, but when you say stuff like that, that's when things start to go wrong. So let's see how things shape up for this afternoon. Save for the internet going down, I think we'll be okay. Again, we'll see, fingers crossed. But that's kind of the deal there. So the other thing that I maybe should show you, let me see if I can get this. This is kind of a weird one. And I'll see if I can explain this to you, is I'm going to share Ecamm Live with you again, because we have one big problem when we are doing these live streams, which I want to show you. What do we got? What camera would you recommend for filming courses as a one-man band? Whoa. Hold on. Okay, guys, I'm going to end the stream. I think our dog just ran away. So it'll be okay, I think. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.